So I get a lot of DMs and a lot of messages around sales, right? So we are starting the year with a bit of a sales narrative. One of the questions I get is mostly from a sales agent or someone moving into sales, looking to be a sales professional in 2025. And that narrative is, how can I be successful in sales in my own right? So whether you're a full-time employee or you're a contractor or you're looking to move into sales, the thing is most sales agents don't have any experience, right? So they've normally come off they're out of high school, they may have gone to university, the majority have not. Look, there is no bachelor degree in sales. It just doesn't exist, right? So what happens is they normally fall into it. So they're looking for a job that, they see sales on social media and think, well, it's uncapped income, I can make a lot of money. And then they run blindly through the forest like Bambi, right, with a red dot on their forehead, right, which doesn't end well. And the majority of salespeople are average to poor. It's just how it is. It's because they don't understand the foundations and the formula, right? So there's a successful sales formula to selling. And as an individual, you need to understand what that is. I've said before, can an accountant be successful in sales? My answer to that is yes, but not long term. Why is that? Because it's not in their character. My point would be to you, if you're looking at a career in sales and you want to earn uncapped income, and by the way, sales is definitely the place that you can do that. And by the way, most successful entrepreneurs are sales oriented and salespeople, right? It's a very small percentage though that can be highly successful in it. So you need to think to yourself, maybe it's not for you. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. Let me talk about the character traits, right? Sales is hard. Like I did sales, I would make 250 outbound calls that were cold calls. And I did that for years, but what it did is I honed my skills. And there's one thing I learned about my personality during that time is that I was very, very resilient, right? So think to yourself, there's a couple of traits, I'm gonna run through them. The first one is, are you resilient? Can you get on the phone and make 250 calls a day if you needed to earn money, right? Like if you're not prepared to do that, there is no uncapped income. You won't make any money because if you're not prepared to do the hard work, right? So resilience is really, really critical. The second byproduct to resilience is work ethic. Like how many hours, this is interesting, right? And I speak to sales agents about this all the time because I see them do this. They start at 8:30 and they finish at 4:30 in the afternoon. And I'm like, what are you doing? They're walking out the door. I'm going home. I said, but didn't you tell me that you want to earn more money in 2025 than you ever had before? Yeah. So why you go home at 4:30? And they go, oh. So you have to come to a realization, right? Are you prepared to put the work in? How many hours do you think it takes to earn, I don't know, $250,000 to $500,000 in sales commissions a year? How long do you think that takes? Think about it. Think about, what does the Prime Minister of the country earn? The President of the United States earn? As a salary. Like, there are some countries on this planet, as part of the 130 countries that are on the planet, maybe there's more, I can't remember. But, and some of those prime ministers and presidents probably earn $250,000 a year, right? Of course they get all these benefits, but if you want to earn $250,000 a year as a a baseline entry point, or $500,000 a year, you're in the top 3% on the planet. On the planet. So if you think about that, what a salesperson does, especially when they're young, is they don't give it any credibility. And what that means is they don't respect it. Because people think that you can get into sales work at 9 to 5 and I'm gonna earn all this money. Well, that never happens. So if you're considering sales, are you resilient and do you have the work ethic? I'm gonna go back to the hours. How many hours do you think it takes to make $250,000, $500,000 a year? Now, if you're saying to yourself 50 or 60, don't do sales, because there's a lot more than that. Now, there's tiers to this, right? And I'll get to the hours soon. There's tiers to this though. So you need to go all in at the start, hone your skills, do all the training, get really, really good at what you do. And then what happens is you start to compound. If you think about compound interest, right? It just takes time. When you get there, you can lower the hours and the activity because you don't want to burn yourself out. Not many people can work 2 years, 100 hours a week. But, okay, I just dropped the hours. It's 100. The number is 100. You have to work 100 hours a week for the first 3 months just to get to the point where you can leverage the year. So you can use the concept of compound interest. So what I'm talking about is compound IP, intellectual property, and compound skills, right? You can build that over 3 months, but you have to put so much work in. By the way, most people, if they're working 40 hours a week and you're working 80, you're gonna get there twice as fast and earn twice as much. It's math, right? The math is true. So in my sales experience, and you know, I've had a lot of years in sales, turned over $100 million in sales, you have to put the time in. So now it's work ethic, it's resilience, and it's commitment. Can you work 100 hours a week for 3 months if that was needed from you? Like, you gotta ask yourself that question, can you? Most people can't, by the way. So you can do one or two things. You can lie to yourself and say, yeah man, I'm in, I can do that. This is great, I'm gonna make so much money. And then you start and you just don't execute against it. It's like that start of the year thing, right? I'm gonna go to the gym, I'm gonna get fit, I'm gonna lose 10 kilos, I'm gonna increase my cardio, I wanna run a marathon. And then March comes and you're sitting at home watching reality TV eating jelly donuts. Like, it doesn't compute, it does not compute. Like, so you've really got to be honest with yourself. Oh, yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Earning $100,000 a year is a great job. But don't falsify the future for yourself because you think you can do something and not commit to it. Because that's just a waste of time. You're lying to yourself, to your partner, to your family, to those around you. It's just sort of bullshit. Like really, a lot of people do it and I just think it should stop. But if you're committed, you can do it, right? So you really have to think and look deeply inside yourself whether you can. You can lie to yourself, sure, man, that's not gonna work. You're not gonna have a good future if you continue to lie to yourself. What happens is, if you do that, and you say you're gonna do X and you don't do it, what happens is your personal credibility when you look at yourself in the mirror diminishes. And that's not a good position to be in. You wanna look at yourself in the mirror and you wanna say, man, I'm being so successful right now because I've worked hard. And so you can be proud of that. You know what I mean? You can't be proud of failure. It's very difficult to do that. And you don't want that to compound. You don't want to, I'm gonna try this and it fails. I'm gonna try this and it fails. I'm gonna try this and it fails, So sales is all about that. So if you wanna look at a career in sales, think about those key elements, right? Now, when you get into sales, you have to be better than everybody else in the room. Like that should be your mindset and your attitude, right? One of my first corporate gigs in sales was for one of the largest recruitment companies on the planet. And I walked into the office on the first day. By the way, they shouldn't have employed me, because I'd never worked in the industry before. I was a great salesperson over here, but I wasn't dealing with corporate clients. This was B2C, and they gave me a B2B gig. But there's one thing that I remember the general manager said to me. He said, Lawrence, there's one thing that we see in you. He said you're a bit of a, I think he said the term was a bulldog, right? Where he said, I think anything that we give you, you're going to attack it. And he was right, because in under 12 months, I was the top performing agent in the whole country, right? So, and they had 14 offices. So, and the CEO flew up to the office that I was in and wanted to meet me. And he says to me, what is it that you do to earn the sales that you've done in 12 months that the rest of us are not doing? And then that started a conversation, a narrative around training, right? Is that everyone, they hired people, threw them into the business, they deployed their own script, they sold the way they sold based on their personality type. So they were Bambi running through the forest, right, randomly, or I call it chasing unicorns. So I built a framework for them and said, here, take that framework. And then everyone slotted into a framework, right? So, and then you apply work ethic and all that sort of stuff. So, so think about that in sales, it's so critical. I always talk about the foundations first before I talk about getting on the phones or knocking on the door or going to the corporate meeting, right? That's a whole different story. So if you can get that right, that's one step. The second thing is, how do you sell? There's a lot in that. You got to have a framework, so have a script. Make sure you write a script, you vet the script. You continually improve the script every single day. So what I used to do is take notes, and at the end of the week, over the weekend, I'd improve my own script. And then I'd call it version 2, and then I do it. And then it goes to version 3. Actually, I think the script we're on now in this company is version 100 and something. That's how many times we've iterated that script and made it better and better and better. And sometimes the market changes, so you've got to sort of move with that. Anyway, so have a good script, that's the framework, right? And it's always about, if you were selling, it's all about your tone, how you enter the call, and understanding how the customer came to you. So if they clicked on a meta lead at 8 p.m. in the evening and they filled out a form and they answered these questions, you have to enter the call understanding that information. So if they said, I don't really know how to find a job, or they have a concern about this, or they've typed a question and I want to know about this, or it was just about the price, or speak to me about your finance options. When you enter the call, you pull that data in and that's how you enter it. So if the lead form said, talk to me about your finance options, I'm interested, but I want to know about your finance options. Here's the intro to my call. Hey Tommy, thanks for submitting an inquiry yesterday, I really do appreciate it. I noticed in the form you wanted to discuss our finance options. Look, happy to talk about that. Have you got 2 minutes to chat? Man, that's it. So a nice friendly tone, really easy to walk into it. I'm going directly to what the customer wants and I'm not deviating to something else. Let me demonstrate an unprofessional sales agent who doesn't walk in with the right information to a call. Hey Tommy, Lawrence here. Hey, you sent me an inquiry. Hey, what I want to do is I'd like to talk about this, and then talk about this. I need about 15 minutes. So let me dive into it. See how incongruent that is with the customer entry point. A, you have to have the right tone, use the right intonation. It's got to be focused on the customer result. So what they want to know first. Tell them how, ask their permission to speak to them. Most sales agents get that wrong. You got to ask their permission. I said to my guy, Tommy, do you have 2 minutes to chat? And I kept it light. He goes, no, look, I'm really busy. No harm, no foul. How about we book in a time to do that? I just need 2 to 5 minutes from you. Is this afternoon okay? So that's my first option. He goes, no, I'm busy all day. Great. What time do you knock off? 4 o'clock. Well, would you like me to call you when you're on the drive home? So when you're booking the appointment, and you've got to think about where are they sitting at the time that you're going to speak to them. By the way, I just read a research paper from Harvard Business where they surveyed 14,000 clients. And if you can, there's 2 things that came out of that. One of the things is the market's changed. Calling someone during the day while they're working doesn't close deals. It does not close deals. Why? Because they're distracted. They're doing other things. Everyone is busier than the president. Please realize this and be respectful to it. So use your day for hunting. Book your appointments later on in the afternoon, perhaps after they finish work or before they finish work if they're a shifty, and try and figure that out, right? So it's really critical to do that. Or book them on the weekends. Like, you know, if you want to earn $250,000 or $500,000 a year, you're going to have to work the weekends, people. 100 hours. You can't squeeze 100 hours into 5 days. It's got to be in 7, right? So, but if you're committed to do that for 3 months, it'll extrapolate out and you'll get forward momentum and build a great pipeline. Anyway, back to the call. So just remember when you enter the call to pull in the right data, right? And just enter the call well. Be respectful to the customer. Do you have the time? You have to qualify that. Identify who you are. Lawrence from one of our companies is TechSkill. It's an online academy, calling from TechSkill Academy. You sent me a query about a diploma in business. I'm calling to follow up on that. Do you have 2 minutes to chat? Now I can get congruency after that or before that, doesn't matter. Hey, in the form you mentioned that you wanted to talk about finance options and payment plans. How about we dive straight into that? So would you like me to run through that? Yeah, I would. Okay, great. Let me break that down for you. And now you can start a conversation. And the human goes, that's what I asked for. That's what I got. Polite, professional, qualified if I had the time, I'll talk to you. Most agents don't do that. So if you're moving into sales, these are some of the key, critical, simple things that you need to get right. And then what you need to do is you need to do follow-up. And then what you need to do is you need to do a presentation. And then all these things ensue right after you get that first initial call. By the way, today was just about the entry, the doorway. If you can't enter the doorway well with the customer, they will never talk to you again. So in a very short period of time, you have to gauge them, their personality type. In some of your forms, you might get ages and locations and all that sort of stuff. So you got all the intel, right? By the way, agents just call and they never look at the information. That's what I think. And we're trying to train our team to look at all the information before you make the call. Because when you get them on the phone, the chances of getting them back on the phone, again, diminish incredibly. Like it's very, very difficult, right? So you have to have all these things in play to do that. But if the first call is great, you can get them on the call. So it's all about value. What do they want? How do I help them get to where they want to get to? If they're uncertain, I try to give them clarity, give them information in a very slow pace. By the way, if they're 45 or they're 22, it's a different phone call, right? Everyone has a different stage of their life and the way they want to be communicated to is different. So you have to understand that. This is how you earn the big dollars. This is what you have to learn. what you need to consider is, if I'm going to earn what some prime minister earns in a small country, do you think that might require a little bit of focus and training? Do you think? But here's the thing, agents, salespeople just don't do it. They just don't invest time in training. And your sales manager will deliver you some training. It's normally product training, right? But if you're working as a freelancer and you don't train yourself, that's just ridiculous. I can't even compute it, I'll be honest with you. Because if you want to earn what some prime ministers and presidents earn and you don't do any training and you're unskilled, you'll never be successful. That's just a guarantee. What sort of training? Go, Lawrence, what sort of training? Well, it's simple. I need to learn about personality typing. So I'll go do a course, or I'll start reading books and listening to podcasts about people who are talking about that narrative. I want to understand tone, like tone, right? You're humans to humans. I want to figure out what sort of tone do I need to use with different personality archetypes. Now I need to learn about personality archetypes. There's 4 or 5 different personality types. This is research, people. Understand the customer you're talking to and align yourself to that person. You know what I mean? And they will emulate you when they do. You will live trust when they do. When you're transparent with them, they'll believe you because you're aligning yourself to them. Now, I'm not saying that you have to change your personality. You should never do that. But a really smart individual will want to communicate to a customer the way that they hear it. Because how many people are walking around this planet saying things and no one hears it? Why? Because it's not congruent with the audience. So you've got to get that right. Super critical. Intonation, what's intonation? Pitch, what's that? These are all the things. If your job is to communicate on the phone or even in a virtual or face-to-face, your voice and how you look is your business, right? So put all of your time and effort into learning that. I am going to break this down over this year because we do get a lot of inquiries about it. I think it's critically important to get right. I think no one does it. And we're certainly looking to put some training together for you. So keep an eye out for that. So again, if you want to get into sales in 2025, and you're looking to build income and all these people are saying it's uncapped and you can earn all this money and blah, 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 all that sort of stuff, just remember that it's not easy. It's super hard. It's one of the hardest, but the rewards are great, right? I've earned a lot of money. I think one of my first successful sales gigs, I earned $1 million a year, right? And I was in my 20s. So, and that helped get me set up. I managed to buy property. I managed to educate myself. I managed to go back to university. I managed to do all these things and have great holidays, put money in the bank and be secure. But what I did is I learnt. I learned from those around me who were better than me. So I kept my mouth shut, my ears open and my eyes open. And I remember walking into an office and I said, who's the best salesperson in here? And they go, that guy. I said, great, sit me next to that guy. He says, we can't, there's already people there. Move them. I said, if you sit me next to that guy, I'll hit the board in 10 days, I said to the sales manager. And he put me there and I hit the board in under 5 days. Because I want to learn from the best, right? So you have to have that sort of winning attitude and try and figure it out. But it's learn, learn, learn. You need to read, you need to watch podcasts, you need to watch interviews, you need to read research, and you need to practice. The other thing that salespeople don't do is they don't practice. And I mean practice in the mirror, practice with your partner, practice with your colleagues, practice, practice, practice. Right? It's okay to listen to everything, but if you don't execute against the lesson, you can't deliver it to a customer. Like you just can't. Because you have to practice it. So when you're on the phones to your customers and you learn a piece of data, by the way, work in segments and iterations, like I always say, I need to get good at this. I need to work on my tone, great. So for 5 days, all I do is learn about tone and I deploy it every day on my calls. And I listen to my calls and I critique myself and I get my teammates to critique me. And then all of a sudden, here's what'll happen. That $250,000 or $500,000 you want to earn happens. And you probably never thought it could because you think that it's this, but it's actually the really small training components and the work ethic and the blocking out all the noise and getting focused is what gets you there. Just because you have a great personality, it doesn't mean you're going to make any money. People think, you should get into sales. Why? Because you have a great personality. Well, that's not going to get you there. Strategy gets you to success, not personality. I say people with personality have an opportunity, right, to be successful in sales. But without the strategy, the execution, and the work ethic, you'll never get there. Anyway, I hope that helped. We got a lot of questions about it, so I thought I'd drop this video just to cover off on a few of those questions. We have a course coming on sales. and we start filming in a couple of weeks. So keep an eye out for that. Any more questions, please drop it, send a DM or send us an email, and we're happy to answer that and drop that in future episodes. But appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.